What I gwan, peeps, what I gwan. It's Valerie's Naturals Oracles. And today, if you're not sure why you're here, this is about the tarot card interpretations. At the moment, I'm doing the major arcanas. I've gotten to number 5 in the actual major arcana deck, which is the Hierophant. So, if you didn't know, I'm actually doing a leaflet that accompanies this. It's the basic version of my leaflet, but for anybody who wants to join me on Patreon, you can get the extended version where I go into spirituality. I mean, the basic is just general information about the tarot, each tarot card. But the extended goes into interpretations for love, health, finance, family, and spirituality. And I even give the reversals in the extended leaflet that goes with this. The leaflet is just for general information, and you can actually write your own thoughts on it. You can print it out and do whatever you wish. And the basic is actually available to the public. The extended is for the Patreon. So if you're not on my Patreon already, because there's a lot going on there, you need to join in, okay? But also, if you're not subscribed yet, why not? Hit the subscribe button and the alert bell so you know when I'm going to do another video, because this is just one of many of the videos that I do. I do reviews, but I mostly do tarot and it's specifically relationships and the divine journey and spirituality in general. So, join me and hit the subscribe button. So anyway, let's get on with this interpretation of the Hierophant. So as you know, if maybe you don't know, but the Hierophant back in the day used to be called the Pope card. And there's still old versions, and I think they're Italian versions of tarot cards that still predict the actual Hierophant as the Pope. And they've got the Popess, which is a bit of a strange one. So there you go. But the counterpart for the Hierophant is actually the High Priestess, if you didn't know. So anyway, so what's my interpretation of, first of all, what I'm going to do? And maybe I should explain. I'm going all over the place. But what I normally do is explain my interpretation, show you other decks that have the Hierophant, and some of them can be vastly different and you get a different thing from them, but it's all about intuition and what you see in those cards at the end of the day. And then I give you a general overall from a text, of the general interpretation, but then I will put a link to the actual leaflet underneath in the description box if you want to print it out and have it for yourself to actually do further investigation. So without further ado, what does the Hierophant mean to me? Well, mostly I use the Hierophant because the Hierophant is all about regulation. It's a lot to do with spirituality as well, because you can see that there's he does actually look like the Pope there, and he's got 2 of his parishioners there bending down to them. Do you notice with this Pope that he's actually pointing upwards? And it's to do with the spiritual part of this card. But this card to me also is about institutions and large organizations. It's also about the institution of marriage and or commitments. And in reverse, the commitment is a non-commitment. So that would make sense, isn't it? But to me, it's about authority figure. It's about spirituality. And it's about spirit talking through you. It's also about the wise one. This is about the wise one who likes to give advice, who's there to actually teach. I do mostly use this card for, because it's usually relationships. It's either going to be a commitment. Depends on the spread. It's usually about a commitment or a marriage. If I see this card pop up, there's a marriage or a commitment is in play there somewhere. But yeah, this is what this card means to me. And in the reverse, it's just not a nice card at all. It's not nice as somebody who's non-committal, who doesn't want to commit. There's wrong things going on with institution. It's somebody who's actually quite foolish. Because could you imagine the Pope being in reverse? Anyway, that is my little interpretation of this card, but it does depend on the spread. I mean, it could mean in a health situation, for example, it could mean that you're talking to somebody who's actually higher up in the organization that is could be a consultant that is actually looking at your situation, but it's also to do with institutions. Do you know what I mean? So it could be a hospital, for example. So that's how I interpret it. I mean, you could go into the love situation, go to the spirituality is of, this is somebody who's higher up in the church, and it keeps going. And this is how you interpret the card. But I'm going to show you some other cards and some other decks and see how the Hierophant is actually depicted in these cards, because some of them are vastly different. So let's look at it. So I've got out the Hulu Tarot. This is a bit of a strange one because this one is slightly different, but this is the Hierophant in here. And could you see this person's face? It's like either they've got their tongue out or they've got something underneath their mouth. But this Hierophant is a very strange one, isn't it? You can see he's depicted as the wise one, but it's all to do with the ancestors. I mean, a lot of this deck in particular, is a lot to do with ancestors and stuff like that. And it's a very strange one. But just to show you how vastly different the Hierophant can look in each deck. Okay, but this is still, this is based on the Rider-Waite, if I didn't say before. And that's what I'm basing most of these interpretations on, is the Rider-Waite. And this is actually Rider-Waite, but they've added on their own thing on it. It's about, Hulu is a type of spirituality that deals with, it's kind of the occult as well, but they've actually mixed the two together and made a tarot card. And so in here, he's depicted as one of the ancestors. And this is the Hierophant in this one, the wise one. So let's have a look at another one. So this is from the Everyday Enchantment Tarot. And this is the Hierophant here. And definitely this one is being depicted as a teacher, an advisor, an elder statesperson in here. An elder in the family. So this is what this one depicts in this one. It's vastly different from this, though. If you compare the two, look, that's that one and that's that one. This is more depicting of an elder person who's a teacher, because you see the kids are sitting there looking at him. Teacher, older person, a wiser one. I'm going to do one more, okay? And I've got out, I love these decks, the Urban Tarot, but this is the Throff system. And this is how they're depicting the Hierophant here. It's literally a church elderman. It's the pastor of the church. And this is how he's being depicted here in this set of cards. It's a very straightforward one. Whereas that one you could interpret how you want. And that one is kind of like, oh, you can make all sorts of interpretations with that. I could. But this, it more looks like the Pope, doesn't it? And this is how the Marcel system of cards was actually depicted. So I don't know if that's making sense to you, but yeah, it depends on the deck you pick up. If you are going to use your intuition when actually reading these tarot cards, sometimes I go by the pictures. And again, I say this almost every time. If you do what I call a DIE, and I've learned this through photography, it's like describe, interpret, and evaluate. You literally just describe the card and what you're seeing. Okay, and then you interpret it. So you get the three, like for example, some people don't notice these things, but like you get the three rings there. It's like the Trinity, isn't it? You've got a light shining down from the window. It's like spirit is talking to that person. There is a dove in the background. All these things help with the interpretation, could mean something. The fact that his hands are doing that. Why would he be doing that? It's almost like he's teaching somebody, or he's thinking about something, or he's having a conversation with somebody, and then there's a staff in the back there. Do you know what I mean? What does that mean? Do you see what I mean? You can interpret these things completely different. It's just like this. Even the colours have say something. It's red royalty. There's a key there. Has he got the key and somebody else got the lock? He's got two parishioners there who's bent down listening to this person. You can interpret these in so many different ways. And if you notice, he's pointing up to the sky, and that's to do with spirituality and of spirit. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you can interpret these any way you want. But I'm going to give you the book version. I've got my fingers in the way. So excuse me a minute. I'm just going to get the book version out. Just bear with me. Oh no, I don't even want to cut this out. Sorry, people. So I'm going to give you the book version, okay? And the interpreter, and it's just a general interpretation, okay? And it says here, the Hierophant may indicate how help from a wise, trusted person such as a mentor, teacher, or religious figure, usually one who is respected in the local community, but certainly someone who the client holds in trust and high regard. This card frequently refers to large institutions such as hospitals, educational establishments, government offices, churches, or large organizations. I can't say it. It also suggests conformity and conventional set ways of working or thinking where it is difficult to implement change. It can be representative of following traditional values and moral ethics, or the need to find a deeper meaning to life in the exploration of spiritual matters. Now, this interpretation doesn't actually mention that, but it depends on the interpretation you actually go to. But yeah, it doesn't mention the fact that it could be to do with marriages, but it does mention institutions. So you take it how you want to take it. But yeah, I hope that made sense to you and it wasn't too up and down. And tomorrow will be another reading. So come back and join me. So hit the alert bell and subscribe, share, comment. And if you really want to take it further, don't forget the leaflet underneath and join me on Patreon for the extended, okay? So, hope that makes sense. Take care till next time. Bye for now.